Welcome back to the deep dive. We've got another big stack of sources today.
Yeah, quite a bit to get through this time.
We are digging into the weekly download from the desk of Andrew Kagan. And usually when we look at these weekly roundups, it's a bit of a grab bag.
Right, some updates here, a patch there.
Maybe a new button in Excel.
Yeah.
But looking through the sources this week, I feel like there is this massive underlying theme connecting almost everything.
It really jumped out at me too. On the surface, it looks like just a list of random technical news. You've got Azure updates, changes in Microsoft 365, some security warnings.
Yeah.
But if you connect the dots, we're seeing a fundamental shift. We aren't just talking about tools we use anymore. We're talking about the rise of the agent.
Exactly. It's the shift from I use this tool to write my code to this agent writes the code for me, or even
I use this site to book a flight,
Yeah.
to the agent just plans and books the whole vacation.
Right. So our mission today, for you listening, is to traverse this whole stack. We're going to start deep in the infrastructure with Azure and DevOps.
Got to start at the foundation.
Then we'll move up to the data layer with Fabric and Power BI, hit the user experience side of things, and then wrap it all in a very necessary security blanket.
And that security layer is going to be critical because, as we'll see, handing the keys over to these agents creates what some people are calling security debt.
Security debt. I love that term.
It's a real problem, but let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Right. Let's start at the foundation.
Yeah.
Azure. There was a specific update regarding AKS, the Azure Kubernetes service, that really caught my eye, mostly because of the cool factor.
The MCP server preview.
Yes. Now, talk to me like I'm 5 here, or at least like I'm not a Kubernetes architect. What actually is this?
Okay, let's unpack it. MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. Historically, if you wanted an AI to interact with your Kubernetes cluster, the human developer, you had to write a bunch of glue code. You had to translate what the AI wanted into specific API calls. It was like you were the interpreter between two people who spoke totally different languages.
So the AI says, I want to spin up 3 more pods, and I have to go write the script that actually tells Kubernetes to do that.
Precisely. But with this update, the AI agent can communicate directly with the cluster.
Wow.
Yeah, it allows AI agents to perform CRU operations, create, read, update, delete, directly on the cluster resources.
So it's standardizing how the AI talks to the infrastructure.
Exactly. The agent understands the tools and capabilities without you having to explain every single parameter. It's a massive step toward autonomous infrastructure management.
That is wild. It's like giving the AI a direct line to the engine room.
It really is.
Speaking of the engine room, there were a couple of other Azure updates for the hardcore infrastructure folks. Premium SSD v2 is getting instant snapshots.
Now, this is one of those boring but essential updates.
The best kind.
Right. If you're running mission-critical apps, you can't wait for a backup to process. Instant snapshots mean you get an immediate recovery point. It's an insurance policy for your data.
Because if the database crashes at 2.0 p.m., you want to restore to 1.59 p.m.
Not 8.0 a.m.
Exactly. And for the developers out there, Azure Functions now supports .NET 10 in the isolated worker model. I saw the term isolated worker highlighted a few times in our sources. Why does that distinction matter?
It matters for your sanity, honestly. The key word is isolated. It separates the worker process, which is your code, from the host runtime, which is Azure's code.
Ah, so they don't step on each other's toes.
Exactly. It gives you way more flexibility with versioning so you don't end up in those dependency hell situations.
Where an update to the platform breaks your specific function because you are sharing some library.
Right. It keeps your code in its own lane.
Okay, so the infrastructure is clearly getting ready for agents. But let's talk about the people building the software. There's this term popping up in the sources, agentic DevOps, and alongside it, something called vibe coding.
Vibe coding? I love that term, but it's also absolutely terrifying.
I mean, it sounds relaxed, like coding in a hammock with a cold drink.
It does. But here is the reality of what it means. We are moving away from traditional CI/CD pipelines, where a human writes code, pushes it, and a script runs some tests.
Right.
We are entering an era where tools like AutoDev are building, testing, and even fixing code autonomously. Vibe coding basically means you prompt an AI, it spits out code that looks right.
It passes the vibe check.
Exactly. It passes the vibe check, and you just ship it.
That sounds incredibly risky, especially for enterprise environments.
It is, but we have some specific tools in the staff this week that seem to be trying to manage that exact risk. Graphite, for example.
Yeah, I saw Graphite. It's rethinking the workflow with stacked pull requests.
Right, because instead of one massive update that's a nightmare for anyone to review, you break it down into a stack of smaller dependent changes. It helps manage the flow, but you still rely on review.
Then you have greptile. This one sounded fascinating to me because it's not just looking at the lines of code I changed.
No, greptile is building a complete knowledge graph of your entire repository, and this is crucial for agents.
Because they need the big picture.
Exactly. If an AI changes the line of code in Module A, it needs to know that it just broke a dependency in Module Z, which is 5 layers deep.
Uh-huh.
Humans miss that context all the time.
We absolutely do.
So greptile is trying to give that holistic context to the machine.
And then there's Quoto, which focuses on behavior-driven quality and actually generating the test suites. But you mentioned earlier that vibe coding is terrifying. Why specifically?
It comes down to speed and strictness. There's a concept mentioned in our sources about the Claude C compiler. Compilers are inherently strict.
Right, they don't tolerate any ambiguity. You miss a semicolon, it fails.
But vibe coding Datch, where we just prompt an AI and it spits out code that feels right, that can completely bypass that strictness, we are generating code way faster than humans can possibly review it.
So we're just building up a backlog of unverified logic.
Yes. If we don't have agents reviewing the code as fast as other agents are writing it, we build up massive security debt. We're essentially trusting the vibe of the AI, and that is a very dangerous place to be long-term.
That connects perfectly to the next section. We've talked about agents writing code, but what about agents interacting with the real world?
Yeah.
The MIT Sloan research in our stack was really eye-opening here.
Oh, the economics of agentic AI.
Yeah.
This is where we leave the server room and enter the actual economy.
Yeah, the research argues that agents aren't just productivity boosters anymore, they're transaction engines.
Right.
They gave the example of planning a vacation. An agent doesn't just give you a list of hotels. If it has the right permissions, it books the flight, it pays for the hotel, it handles the entire itinerary.
Or think about the physical world, monitoring a warehouse conveyor belt. If the vision system sees a jam, the agent doesn't just send an email alert to a manager, it physically stops the belt.
The research specifically mentioned that the real value proposition here is reducing transaction costs.
Exactly. Think about shopping for a mortgage or buying a used car.
It's exhausting.
It is. You have to compare 50 different rates, read the fine print, check vehicle histories.
Yeah.
Humans get tired. Agents don't.
They can just grind through it.
They can analyze thousands of options at near zero marginal cost. They bridge what the research calls information asymmetry. They find the tiny discrepancies in the used car listing that would take you hours to spot.
So agents are basically the ultimate savvy shopper. But to feed these agents, to give them that power, you need data. And that brings us to the data layer, Microsoft Fabric. It seems like Fabric is really growing up.
It is. It's moving from being the cool new toy to an actual enterprise workhorse. We saw official support for the Fabric Seed tool this week.
Meaning it's ready for prime time?
Yeah, it means you can finally manage Fabric items with proper version control and deployment pipelines. It's not just experimental anymore.
And I also saw the native execution engine and new ODBC drivers mentioned.
That's all about performance and connectivity. It means Fabric can talk to more things and do it much faster. It's laying the plumbing for those exact agents we just talked about.
So they can access the data they need to make those economic decisions.
Precisely.
Speaking of data, Power BI had a huge update for February 2026. Two things really stood out to me. First, the input slicer. Finally.
I know, right? For years, Power BI has been strictly read-only. You look at the report, you analyze it, but you can't touch the underlying numbers.
But now with the input slicer, users can enter data directly into the report.
Which is huge for what-if scenarios. You can model out projections right there on the dashboard without needing a separate app or, a messy Excel sheet on the side.
And the second nugget from that update, the Copilot character limit, it jumped from 500 characters to 10,000.
That is significant. 500 characters is maybe a sentence or two. It's a quick question. 10,000 characters is a document.
It's a whole manual.
Right. You can now paste a massive amount of context, or a really complex SQL query, or incredibly detailed prompt engineering instructions directly into the tool. It allows for much more nuanced interaction with your data.
Okay, moving on to the tools we use every single day. The daily driver section. Microsoft 365. Let's talk about Planner. There was a refresh, and honestly, a bit of a revolt.
A classic case of feature updates versus workflow disruption. The new design brought task chat, which is a great idea in theory.
Sure.
But the community feedback was brutal. People couldn't find the comment section anymore. It got buried in the new UI.
And there was also an issue with custom fields.
Yeah, that was the more serious problem. Changes in Dataverse actually broke custom fields for some enterprise users. One comment in the sources mentioned it impacted an airline's operations.
An airline? That's not just a minor inconvenience.
No, it's a stark reminder that when you change a daily tool used by millions of people, even a small UI tweak can have massive real-world ripple effects.
On a happier note, though, Excel seems to be winning people over with agent mode.
This is a pure quality of life win. The big news here is that you can now query local files.
Yeah.
Your XLSX files, your CSVs sitting right on your hard drive, you can query them with Copilot.
You don't have to upload everything to the cloud first.
Exactly. For privacy-conscious users or, frankly, just for speed, that's a huge deal.
And I have to mention the PowerPoint integration, too. Taking an incredibly ugly Excel table and having Copilot auto-format it into a clean designer slide, that alone saves me hours.
It's the end of death by bad spreadsheet screenshots.
Let's hope so. One last thing in the productivity stack. OneDrive is getting file-level archiving.
Now, this is for the digital hoarders among us.
Guilty.
It allows you to move files to a colder, cheaper storage tier without actually deleting them. They are still there if you need them for compliance or reference, but they aren't taking up expensive primary storage space.
Okay, so we've built the apps, we've analyzed the data, we've booked the vacation with our agent. Now we need to protect it all. Part 4, the shield. And looking at the sources, it looks like the web browser is becoming the new security perimeter.
That is definitely the trend with Edge 145. It's getting some heavy-duty enterprise features. One that really stood out is watermarking.
How does that work in a browser?
If you view sensitive data in Edge, it overlays a faint watermark across the page. So if someone takes a screenshot on their phone or tries to screen grab it, it's traced right back to them.
Wow. And clipboard protection.
Right, that stops you from copying work data and pasting it into a personal app, or, more importantly, a not-approved AI tool.
Oh, to stop people from feeding corporate secrets into public chatbots.
Exactly. It's trying to prevent that accidental data leakage.
Now, for the SharePoint admins listening, there is a deadline looming, and it's a hard deadline.
March 1st, 2026. Everyone needs to mark this on their calendar. This is regarding Content Security Policy, or CSP.
What's the current state?
Right now, it's just in reporting mode. It just warns you in the logs if your custom SharePoint solutions are violating security policies. But on March 1st, it switches to enforcement.
Meaning things will actually break.
Yes. If you have custom SharePoint Framework solutions, SPFX, that are calling out to unapproved scripts or APIs, they will simply stop working. You need to check your audit logs today, not on March 2nd.
Consider yourselves warned. We also saw some updates for the sovereign cloud. Now, this sounds like something straight out of a spy movie, but it's critical for government and defense.
It is. The update allows Azure Local and Microsoft 365 to run in disconnected mode.
Meaning no internet at all.
Right. But the really interesting part of this is Foundry Local. It allows organizations to run large AI models on premises, completely air-gapped from the public internet.
So you can have your advanced AI agent, but it lives in a secure bunker.
Exactly. For national security or highly regulated industries, you can't have your AI phoning home to a public cloud to process a prompt. This allows them to use the agent technology we've been discussing, but entirely within a sovereign-controlled boundary.
That makes total sense. Let's wrap up with some learning and industry trends. I was actually really happy to see a shout out to a computer networking course in our stack this week.
Back to the absolute basics.
Yeah, it covers collision domains and probability.
It's such a good reminder that beneath all these fancy AI agents and Kubernetes clusters, it's still just packets colliding on a wire.
Right.
Understanding those fundamentals makes you a much better troubleshooter when the AI inevitably breaks.
And in industry news, I saw NVIDIA is making a big push for AI-powered cybersecurity and critical infrastructure. Plus, CrowdStrike Falcon is now available directly on the Microsoft Marketplace.
The CrowdStrike move is mostly a procurement win. It just streamlines how companies actually buy their security tools. But it also highlights the integration of third-party security getting deeper into the Microsoft ecosystem.
So bringing this all together, it's been a massive week of updates. We have agents writing our code in Azure. We have agents analyzing economic data in MIT's research, agents fixing our ugly PowerPoint slides, and secure agents running in disconnected bunkers.
We really are seeing the ecosystem shift from providing tools to providing a workforce.
Yeah.
The infrastructure is adapting to let the machines drive.
Which brings us to a final thought for you to mull over. We talked about security debt, and we talked about vibe coding. Where does that actually leave us?
Well, it raises a pretty provocative question. As we hand over more and more of the doing to these agents, from booking our flights to writing and fixing our core code, are we slowly losing the ability to understand how the system actually works?
That's the danger.
Right, exactly. If we rely on vibe coding and we rely on agents to fix the bugs the other agents created, what happens when an agent makes a critical mistake in a sovereign cloud that has no internet connection? Who fixes it then? Do we still have the people who know how to read the packets on the wire?
That is definitely something to think about. As always, check the show notes for the deep dive links to all these articles and sources. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next deep dive.
Goodbye, everyone.